Welcome to the Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Gullen, hanging out with my buddy and pal, Tony Shore. How you doing, Tony?
I am doing great, Barb. Having so much fun. You and I are two peas in the same pod talking about collectibles and
Oh, yes.
people
Oh,
selling
yes.
things on eBay and Etsy. And yeah, you and I are the same, cut
Yes.
from the same cloth with that. I get caught up in that too.
Never mind that the sentences before that where I don't need any more stuff, but
you
I
said
get it.
you said I don't need any more stuff, and then launched into okay now on Etsy.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what's that? Yeah,
All
something
right.
didn't quite track.
Well, we need to talk about things that spark a little joy because the world
Sure.
turned on its head in the last
Oh,
week, Tony.
right. And it's kind of the elephant in the room. Um, everybody's
Or
talking
the
about
elephant in the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. See, Barb, this is why you have a great radio show, because you're quick with the lines, and that's perfect because that's what it is. The elephant in the Strait of Hormuz, because the whole conflict or war in Iran with
Mhm.
Iran is causing oil prices to skyrocket. I actually just read an article, because ships carrying bottled water, a lot of the world's bottled water that people
Mhm.
purchase goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And so it's been blocked, believe it or not necessarily for the
Okay,
United
for those of
States.
you not on video, this is my shock face.
Yeah.
I
I
had
just read
never
an
thought
article.
about that.
So the price of bottled water is going up. And
As is the
so,
price of oil. Oil is
well,
the
yeah.
highest price it's
Yeah.
been in 2 years.
But I guess I don't know if it's just elite water, but I think they mentioned like bottled water going to places that don't have clean water.
Mhm.
That's an issue, and I thought
It is.
that's kind of an odd one. I didn't expect that to. It's amazing what one thing can affect. I've always said, my line: if someone sneezes in China, it affects the markets in the United States. You
It
know what I
does.
mean? It can,
Well,
but
I mean,
but it's
times
brief.
I said if Nvidia catches a cold, the S&P catches the flu.
Right. And
Um,
hopefully now they say it's leveling, it's spreading out. We're seeing a little wider spread with the S&P. It's not all, but it's still pretty concentrated with those seven. But the war, what do you think? I mean, what's your take on this? Hopefully it won't last too long.
I hope it doesn't last too long, but we got hit with a little bit of a double whammy today because the jobs report came out and we lost over 90,000 jobs in the
Yeah.
United States last
Yeah.
month.
I heard
Now,
of that.
those numbers get revised all the time. It's funny how they never come out with the revisions. And it might be
Right.
the revisions don't make the headlines that the initial report does.
And that
But
it doesn't matter which way they go. If they're better or worse, we never hear about the revisions.
right,
Yeah.
right.
That's the problem.
So there are a lot of people, I don't know about you, but gas prices have gone up pretty significantly
Yeah.
here. And, I'm looking at my 18-year-old who works part-time while she's going to school, and she's driving her friends all over the place. And I'm like, one, stop. Two, they need to be giving you gas money because it's awesome that you're the one with the wheels, but they're all old enough to have licenses and cars themselves.
Yeah.
So they need to be kicking into your gas budget because verily I say unto you, child, you do not have unlimited resources. Very few people do.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is probably a good way for us to segue into today's topic.
Yes.
Um, inflation is still not at the 2% rate. What is
No,
going
and
on, and what is going on in the Gulf is at
right.
least going to temporarily
Tick it
kick
up a bit.
inflation back up.
Because gas prices, oil prices, I should say, affect everything, not just at the pumps, but everything we use made out of plastic. Plastics
Yes.
are a petroleum-based product. Everything we consume typically gets shipped, and at some point, oil is used to ship it.
Mhm.
So,
Or
it,
is wrapped in plastic to send it.
Yes. So it affects everything eventually, at least a little. Now, do you panic and pull everything out of the markets? That's not
No,
what you're saying. But
no.
you're saying be prepared for inflation and some volatility in the market. We haven't seen this huge drop today because of Trump made a comment about he wants, we're not going to stop until we get full um, unconditional surrender, he said last night or this morning, and so that caused oil prices to jump even more,
Yeah,
and that came out at exactly the same time jobs losses came out, numbers that weren't good,
yes. And
so
so
we're seeing a
as we're
drop.
recording this, the S&P is down another 1% today.
Yes.
It has had several days this week where we
Yeah.
have been down
Yep.
at or more than 1%.
Yeah, the sky isn't falling though, and the
No.
market always rebounds, but you need a plan in place to deal with market volatility and what we're talking about today to deal with the inflation that this might cause, right?
Right, because when you put together your spending plan, you notice I did not use the B word budget.
Right, spending
Um,
plan, better way to
spending
put it.
plan.
Yeah,
You figure, well, gas has been running about this much, so it should cost me this much a month to keep gas in my tank. Well, I don't know about you. Gas prices here went up probably about 40 or 50 cents a gallon
yep,
over the
same
last
here.
week.
Yep, same. We're about
It,
45 cents up a
yeah,
gallon from what they were before the war started.
right. And, even though we hope it's a blip on the radar and a short term thing, sometimes you need to go to other resources to help make sure you're staying on track with your spending plan. I am going to encourage you not to stop investing right now because realistically, stuff is on sale. And
Yeah.
if you have a longer time horizon before when you will actually need that money, when you're buying it now, you're getting it at a discount. And it gives you the opportunity then, as the market recovers, to experience a little bit more of a rapid return to your
Yeah.
account.
So you're saying, wait, you're saying buy low and sell high? What?
I know, what a thought.
Actually, and I make light, but the majority of investors,
Do not
private
do
and
that.
yeah, that you end up buying high and selling low because you let your emotions dictate. If the market starts to go down, you panic. You
Mhm.
sell when it's going down. You buy when it's going up, and you end up losing out.
You do. You really do.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to trim expenses other places, because let's face it, your grocery budget is stretched right now. Even though inflation nominally is around 3%, we've seen significantly higher costs at the grocery store. So rather than looking at where you can reduce expenses, I'm going to present the idea that you pick up a side hustle or participate in the gig economy
Sure.
to help your spending, to help your financial plan, your overall goals stay on track. But if you're going to pick up a side hustle, there are some things I want you to do with it.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
I have side hustles. I have a couple. I buy and sell records. I collect
Yes,
records more
you
than I
collect them.
sell, but I keep more than I sell. But I do often curate and buy records and then
You
sell
help
them.
your sweet friends on record day when they're like, and he's
Yeah,
like, I'm already in line. Just send
yeah.
me the cash.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
camping out overnight on record store day, but and then I do voiceover work on the side if a radio station or a company wants a radio ad. So I do some gig work. I haven't had a lot of time lately to do anything on the side. It's between my job and my parents. Between Barb
right.
Gullen and my parents, I'm my
Oh, come
schedule's my
on.
schedule is booked.
I know I'm so demanding. I'm so
No, you're
demanding.
not.
But what I want you to do if you're looking at a side hustle is I don't want you to let's not treat this like a shotgun. Let's try to be a little bit more focused about it.
Okay.
Let's look at one, maybe two specific areas where you think you might either have some experience or some expertise that would benefit, rather than signing up for DoorDash, Instacart, Uber, Lyft. Don't go nuts doing this. And I want you to treat it like a job. I want you to set hours for yourself if it's at all possible. Because if you don't set boundaries around it, it ends up taking over your life. Not that I have experience in this arena at all or anything. Because, before I came back as an advisor when my kids were little, I actually cobbled together quite an income through the gig economy before we called it that.
Sure.
I was a freelance writer. I worked for a garment repair shop, and
Wow.
I would wear these jeweler goggles, and when people would get a hole in their pants, we would, like in a nice suit or something, we would cut a piece of fabric from an obscure place, like maybe the hem or something hidden, the inside of a pocket or something. And I would actually go thread by thread and reweave a tiny patch of fabric over
Wow.
that hole. Yes.
The things I learn about you,
Yeah.
Barb, that I didn't know. That's amazing. It's
Uh,
that sounds horrible to me because I have very little patience
it
to
was
keep my
it was
hands.
very tedious, and
Yeah.
the thing is you have to match the pattern of the fabric, you have
Right.
to match the weave of the fabric. Um, but it was really fun when you would sit back and find a piece that you had put in, that you had done the
Yeah.
overweaving and it looked
Sure.
great. Anyway, um, you need to set parameters for yourself so that you don't go nuts.
Yeah.
And I want you to also keep track of your expenses.
Mm.
In a perfect world, I want you to open up a separate bank account for this, where all of the money that you earn goes into that bank account and you pay the expenses for it out of that bank account, so that you
Right.
realize how much money you're actually making. Because if you do work for any of these sites and you make over $600, you are going to get a 1099 that year. They're going to report that income. You will need to file a Schedule C for self employment income and add that to your tax return. But while it's also reporting the income, the Schedule C also lets you report expenses as deductions.
Yeah, and so that's really good to know. I think that a lot of people, get, oh, I'm going to do a side gig. Look at all this money I'm making,
Mhm.
but they're not keeping track. What are you spending to make
Right,
that money?
right.
And you have to do the math. Look at your time. Look at what else you could be doing, and it has to make sense. And you don't want to
Mhm.
miss out on any tax opportunities, is what you're saying.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And you also, speaking of taxes, great segue, Tony. You also want to set aside probably about 30% of what you make to pay those
Yep.
taxes. You have to pay, when you work for an employer, they pay half of your Social Security and Medicare. When you work for yourself, you get to pay all of it. And then you pay income taxes on top of that.
Well, yeah, and so yeah, it gets complicated. And this is again, if you're doing a side hustle in addition to a regular
Full
job,
time job.
you really want to make sure you're working with a financial professional,
You do.
and question, hey, what should I do here? And I know that you work alongside CPAs and you help people. This has to be part of your overall financial plan and picture, right? The tax thing is a something that a lot of people miss.
It is. It is. And I have clients who have done everything from become a rideshare driver to making and decorating cakes or baked goods in their home and delivering those. That has become very popular. Um, I have known people that, okay, I've raised people that thought they wanted to be influencers and then realized that's a much harder job than it looks like. Um, if you're going to go down this path, spend a little time brainstorming what you like to do. And I also want you to make another list of what you absolutely do not like doing so that you don't get yourself in a situation where the one thing that you signed up for is that might be making some money ends up being the thing that you despise.
Right, adding extra stress. Is it
Right.
worth it? You don't want to add the stress can cause, health issues, and
It
that's
can.
going to cost you more in the long run. You've got to look at it realistically. That's an interesting take that I wasn't expecting. I'm glad you brought that up. Seriously, I mean, I would have never thought of, hey, you've got to be really careful that just to make extra money, you're not doing something you hate
Don't
or
sign up.
adding stress.
Yeah, don't sign up to be a rideshare driver if you hate traffic.
Right. If driving stresses you out,
Mhm.
yeah, don't do DoorDash as a
No,
side hustle. Yeah.
no. And there is, Kansas City is one of the host cities for the World Cup coming up in a few
Yep.
weeks. It's weird that we're less than 100 days away from that happening.
I know.
But when we're looking at that, there are a lot of people around town because Kansas City is expecting 650,000 people to come visit our city over the span of those 6 weeks. A lot of people are considering renting out their homes for that period of time. There are, not only are we hosting several games, but there are 4 teams that are calling Kansas City their home base during the World Cup.
Mm.
So you not only have the teams and that infrastructure, but you have the loyal fans. One of the host cities, one of the teams that we're actually going to be hosting is Argentina, the current World Cup champion.
Wow.
So it's going to be busy around here. I
Oh, yeah.
personally will be going into hiding during most of the
Oh,
World Cup time.
yeah.
Um,
Man, I'd
I,
love to go to one of those matches, though.
yeah, they're going to be out at Geha Field where the
Mm?
Chiefs play.
Yeah,
So,
I
um,
imagine.
and yeah, it's one of those. I I can only imagine the energy. Um, can't say that I'm going to go out of my way to be there and experience it personally.
Well,
I think
it would be costly and crazy, and the people
yes,
and
and the
oof,
whole city is just going to be one great big
yeah, and I assume
bundle
it's
of
sold out.
activity.
It's probably sold
Oh,
out.
I'm sure it
Yeah.
is. I'm sure it is, and I'm sure that what the aftermarket prices for the tickets are
Oh,
is something that I
yeah.
am unwilling to absorb into my spending plan.
Right. It's
But,
like a Super Bowl ticket. Yeah.
but all of that, to say that if you're really looking at a side hustle or the gig economy and you know that you can capitalize on an event that's coming to your city, lay out
Yeah.
a plan and make the most of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you don't mind driving, there'll be a huge demand for drivers for DoorDash and Uber and Lyft and all that, and other opportunities too. I mean,
Especially if you're conversational in some foreign languages and something besides English.
yeah. Yeah, if you're multilingual, or bilingual, that would be very helpful.
Yes.
Um, well, this is
Not to
interesting.
rabbit trail completely, but if you are looking at trying to keep your spending plan on track
Yeah.
and trying to keep your finances on track, because what I see with people is that when money gets tight in a situation like this, now, if you have lost your job and you're in different circumstances, I want you to call our offices at 913-553-6222, and we'll help you through that process. That's a different set of circumstances. But what I see is that when prices temporarily go up, people stop doing 2 things. They stop giving to charity and they stop investing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not what you should do.
No, no, because the charities, especially if you are a recurring giver,
Hmm.
they put together their spending plan based on your giving.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
tough. Yeah.
and when you stop investing, you stop essentially paying yourself.
Hmm. Yep. You can't stop investing, because really dollar cost averaging, if you're in your working years, you do not want to stop investing
No.
because you're going to miss out on growth. It could derail your retirement income
Mhm.
plans. Keep investing, always keep
Yes.
investing during your working years. That's critical.
Yes.
And in order to keep investing or keep giving, if you're a regular giver to a
Mhm.
charity or something, a gig utilizing the gig economy
Mhm.
or a side hustle is a great way to do that. And there are so many fun ways. I know there are so many craft shows where people go and sell homemade jewelry
Mhm.
or homemade Turkish lamps that they've created. I'm just throwing something out there. Who would be crazy enough to do that?
I know.
Barb going.
Let's look at the practical things, because if you want to start at a craft show, you have the cost of the raw materials to make the product. You have to rent a space there, and it's
Not
a
always a
very
money
limited
making
audience.
operation for the first few
I
months.
saw a news story a few weeks ago where a couple ended up stepping away from, or they were having trouble finding employment, and they are making thousands of dollars a month doing laundry for people.
Wow. That's interesting. Well, look at our own Mitch Heil, who used to be the editor and
Oh
producer
my
of this
gosh,
show.
yes.
Mitch is no
So
longer our
talented.
editor and producer.
So
Well,
talented.
yeah, he's a smart cookie. But he makes these wooden relief maps that show depths in lakes, and they're nice and they're different shades of blue. And that he will make these lake maps or maps of rivers,
Mhm,
lakes, things like that,
mhm.
that are custom cut out of wood and finished beautiful.
Yes.
And he did that on the side. Well, he was doing this job for a number of years, for about
Mhm.
12 years. He did it on the
Yes.
side. And eventually, when he quit this job to do that full time, he was making an income net. He was netting
Mhm.
about 3 times what he was making doing this job. So
That's fantastic.
plus he was doing this job plus that. Now he just has to do that so he can spend more time with his kids. I think his wife gave him an ultimatum. You got to
Yeah,
pick one or the
well,
other because he
I
would do a full-time job, then he'd go home and be
and
up
do
all
another
night.
full-time job,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So, when you're thinking about what you could do to bring in some extra cash, think outside the box.
Yes. Yeah. If you're good with woodwork, look at what he did. And I mean, those maps sell
Right.
for the cheapest is probably 250, $200, and the
Mhm.
most expensive is probably 8 or 900 a piece. And he's got constant orders for them.
Which
So
is
he
fantastic.
can't even keep up. So,
But,
yeah.
if you're sitting here and you're listening and you're like, I really need the extra cash, I don't have, and I need it like soon, and I don't have the time to cultivate a whole, look at what gap you can fill, because we are very much a service economy now.
Yep.
And, whether that is doing laundry, cleaning a house, um,
Landscaping, yard work,
cleaning cars,
painting
detailing cars.
houses,
Yeah.
painting
Yes.
inside painting and drywall work. A lot of people do that as a side hustle.
Yes. So, don't sell yourself short while you're
Right.
brainstorming what you want to do and what you don't want to do. But, take the time to map it out. And I mean, the worst anybody can say is no,
Right.
but you won't know unless you try.
True.
And, this keeps you in control, where, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now that we can't control.
Yeah. There is a lot right now, especially,
Yes.
and we know this is affecting the economy. So do something about it. Get a
Mhm.
side hustle, but something you enjoy if you can. I
Yes.
think you made a great point there. One of my biggest takeaways is, hey, if you don't like, if it's something that's going to stress you out, uh, that's not necessarily going to help you financially because stress affects your health, and
It does.
health costs money.
It does.
if you
It's
have health
very
issues.
expensive when you're
It
not
is.
healthy.
It is very. Well, hey, Barb, great show today. But before we go, I bet our listeners have questions or might want a financial plan in place or have you look at like, do I need a side hustle or am I good to go
Yes,
without having to work an extra job?
y
You can look at where they're at and say,
we
here's where you're
can.
at. Here's
We
what are
can.
your goals. You have to sit down with them though. And I know you offer a no charge, no obligation consultation.
We
Leave
do.
your checkbook at home. And I know you love to hear from our listeners and viewers. So, how can they do that and set that up with you or get a hold of you to ask questions?
You can always go to our website, bgwealthmanagement.com, or call our offices at area code 913-553-6222. And Christina, our keeper of all things in the office, will
She's great.
set you up with a I love her. We'll set you up with a consultation either with myself or with one of the other fiduciaries in the office, and we will help you map some of this out. And if that side hustle actually ends up making you a decent money, we'll show you how to create an extra retirement source from it.
Yeah, yeah, and make sure you have good tax planning, things like that.
Right. Right.
That is huge. Well, hey, Barb, great. That number that people can call to set that up is 913-553-6222. Again, 913-553-6222, or go to bgwealthmanagement.com.
Yep.
Great show, Barb.
Thanks, Tony.
Lots of great information today, listeners and viewers. Thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barb Goen.
We'll see you soon.